Episode 2, sponsored officially, unofficially by Warsteiner. Welcome, everybody. Episode number 2, No Traps, No Glory. I, Danny Casey from New York Weightlifting Academy.
Brian Eilenberg from Griffin Strength Barbell. That's where we're at.
Here we are, man. We'll go back and forth. And first off, just to start things, I want to say thank everybody for listening, for tuning into, for following, for all the positive feedback, comments. We really we got a lot of good
feedback.
Yeah, really good feedback about everything. I can't wait till the next one. When's that coming out?
Yeah.
Are you guys going to do weekly? I'm like, well, we're going to try to do at least monthly.
At least a couple of months. That's what
Yeah.
I've been telling. At least like 1 or 2 a month
Yeah,
to start.
if we can bust that out. So
Yeah.
it's
Consistency over quantity. You know what I mean?
100%. You'd rather know it's going to come out every 15th of the month versus
Versus whenever. But
So today we're going to kind of build off the last episode. We really, I guess, again, going back with the feedback, everybody really just gave a lot of good input. I thought we actually had a great flow with the discussion, the way we worked with each other. That was actually a lot of the compliments that I was given.
Yeah.
So we're going to kind of build off. We're going to about the introductory one about philosophy, and we're going to just discuss just us, coaches, coaching relationships, and coaching weightlifting.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Brian, after you, I'll let you lead off since this is the topic that we. So what we did was we text back and forth trying to figure out what topic we want to do next, which way we want to go, and then we took a poll, and this one is the one that.
So we're going to go over the athlete-coach relationship, how we build trust, confidence in each other, and that's what we're going to go over. So I think it's a good one to go after the philosophy with episode 1, and now we're going to go into how, that philosophy grows into our athletes and how we build trust in each other.
Yeah, and that's really too, because again, building off of that, our philosophies are now, I dare you say, just projected, imbued, taught, and inculcated into all of our athletes. The way we approach our training, the way we approach the structure of our gyms, our program, our relationships, which, I mean, really, at the base of it, you could say coaching is just relationship building.
Yeah, it definitely starts with a relationship for sure.
And developing that over time, which really is what helps you get, at least what I find, that's what builds trust, that's what gets our messages through to athletes, why they believe in us, why they trust the program, why they trust what we're telling them, especially when sometimes things don't feel right or don't feel good, and why the natural undulations happen.
Yep.
So, starting off right here.
What defines a great coach, Danny? What do you think defines a great coach?
Honestly, I think, tell me if you disagree. I think you may agree with me on this. I think what defines a great coach is a coach that is always willing to learn more, or a coach that recognizes that they don't know everything, and they may not have the solution for everything, but they're willing to learn more, and they're willing to communicate that with an athlete.
Yeah, I think that's basically what I would say. What defines a great coach? Always willing to work harder, learn more, listen to their athletes. I think sometimes coaches can get into like the power. Like, oh, I'm a coach, so I know everything, and this and that, and not listen to their athletes. But I think a great coach listens to their athletes, listens to what they need when they come in or what they're saying they're struggling with, and always is willing to learn, always is willing to find out information from maybe another coach. I think that defines a great coach. I think, just trying to learn more.
Yeah, And I mean, granted, obviously you're going to be we know each other well, so we can lead into these things a little bit, kind of assuming what the other one's going to say and so forth. But to that point, and I kind of know the answer to this anyway, but so let's say when someone new comes into you, what's the first thing you do with them? How do you approach that? Like if I come to you, hey, Brian, man, I want to come train with you,
so the first thing we do is have, whether it's a phone discussion, or if they're in person, we have a sit down. We have them come by the gym and we have a sit down.
Yeah.
We usually over the phone before they come in to sit down, we kind of explain the steps, and then when they come to have a sit down with us, we explain it further. Try to understand their personality, our personality, and hopefully see if it blends with our gym.
Okay.
After that, what we do is we do what's called an on-ramp, especially if they're beginners.
Okay.
All right. So we'll do what we call an on-ramp, and we run them through 5 sessions, technical sessions, whether it's we go back squat, front squat,
Okay.
snatch, clean, and jerk.
Yeah.
And then in the beginning, we also work on, bracing,
Okay.
bracing and keeping our back tight. And then during those sessions, we're having conversations. We're building a relationship with the athlete, whether it's a youth athlete, senior athlete, or a master's athlete.
Yeah.
We're having conversations. We're trying to learn this person's personality and see how it would fit with us.
It's basically it's like a first date.
Yeah,
It's a weightlifting first date.
yeah, it's like 5 dates we get to have with the person, and we see if it fits. And if it doesn't fit, that's okay.
Yeah.
We'll usually have a discussion on the 5th session, at the end of the 5th session.
Okay.
What we're looking for out of them and what they want out of us,
Mhm.
and we see if it fits. If it doesn't fit, then so be it. That's
Yeah.
fine. But if it does fit, then we hop them right into our programming
Okay.
and coming to the gym, or if they're remote after the conversation, we hop them into an initial program
Okay.
to figure out their weaknesses and strengths.
Yeah.
And we're always having a conversation. We want to make sure that this person fits with us and we fit with them. So it avoids a lot of problems.
Yeah. It's
That's what-
that's yeah. So what problems have you faced with that?
Really expectations.
Okay.
Right? Like, I think, especially with beginners, when they come into sport like this, right, is the expectations. So they'll come in, and I think they kind of think it's like regular fitness, where you could go for a day, a week,
Yeah.
or 2 days a week and get fit, which you can. You can definitely get fit with weightlifting doing that.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to get better at weightlifting, there needs to be some consistency. You
Yeah,
can't just
sure.
come once a week and think your technique's going to improve. And I think the expectations is wherever we see the biggest problem. for
Okay.
sure.
Because let's say for myself,
Yeah, what do you guys do?
so I think, I mean, very similar, but I actually, so the way I go about it is, first thing when someone comes in, I'll ask them what are their goals, what do they want to achieve, what are they looking to get out of this.
Yeah.
And then for me, I tailor in some ways. It's kind of hard to describe it. Like thinking about it, I say what I'll do. I'll tailor myself to the person a little bit more,
Okay.
in the sense of because it's 2 aspects, and just to be blunt about it, it's a business at the primarily.
Yeah.
So it's so the way I see it is, all right, I'm going to serve this person however I can serve them to the best of my ability. And what I try to do is I ask them, and as I tell most people, it's what are your goals? These are and then we establish their goals, my goals for them.
Yeah.
And then from there, just kind of more, which I consider a little bit more peripheral stuff down the road, because it changes over time.
Yeah.
Because let's say, how many people have you had that may have come to you and said, hey, I want to get into weightlifting, but I don't really want to compete. But then 6 months down the road, they're competing.
We get a lot of youth like that.
Yeah.
At least, like in the beginning.
Yeah, so that's what I really, my ultimate goal for everybody is to compete, and it's not even in the sense of trying to grow the team, get more people competing. It's more so because I really consider it's such an integral part of the sport. And like I tell most people,
It gives ownership to their training.
It does, and that's exactly why. Because it's like I tell you, the perspective you have, you come in, you see the gym's the biggest thing you know.
No.
Then you go and compete, and then all of a sudden the gym immediately becomes smaller. Your worldview is much bigger, and everybody, I'm sure the same for you. First time they compete, they have a good experience. They're hungry for more.
Yeah,
Than they're hungry.
yeah, for sure.
So that's my subtle goals that I'll put in there.
Yeah.
So that's why when I ask them in the beginning, and so I try to tailor it to what they're going to do. Okay, accommodate them, make them feel comfortable, and then build from there, add things, and then try to work into. Because ultimately, I want to be able to keep them as a long-term athlete.
Yep.
I want to help work with them to achieve their goals, but really push them towards something that they never thought they would do.
Yeah. I think a little bit off topic, but that's
Yeah.
where I struggled with in the beginning, is realizing it's also a business.
Yeah.
I was so motivated on just getting athletes better
Mhm.
and becoming a better team
Yeah.
that I wasn't motivated on the business aspect of it,
Yeah.
and kind of meeting the person
Mhm.
halfway. So that's where I definitely struggled early on, for sure, with my athletes.
Yeah.
So-
And that's because I could see that too. I try to reflect back, like, especially over the course of the years of doing it, and it's It's actually, I think, there's actually a really good off topic if we're going to consider it off topic, but
I mean, it leads together.
it does. So like, because in the beginning, like how I was raised, like especially under Mark, like Mark was like, this is how you do it. I know the way. Don't do anything else. Like he was just so like like just authoritarian.
Yeah.
And it's like I didn't know any better. I didn't know at the time. And granted, I wasn't like that with people, but it would just be, it was far more unyielding or unbending then as I was now.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where it's like quickly learned. It's like, okay, you can't just dictate and demand something out of somebody that they don't want.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, again, saying like a relationship.
Yeah.
If two parties aren't aligning or aren't looking at the same thing, it's not going to work.
Yeah, I think like I talked about this the other day with an athlete, and I think where I struggled early on, they asked how it was with myself and my wife, Amy, coaching each other, like was there a struggle and this and that.
Yeah.
And I think
How was it?
it was hard early on. Yeah, I think early on I had the feeling that everyone was like me.
Yeah.
And how I would like to be coached.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also coached in a tough neighborhood for football.
Okay.
Right? So those kids, like, that's how they get motivated. They get motivated from tough talk, tough motivation, and they'll do whatever you need them to do if you motivate them that way. And not everyone's motivated that way.
No.
So learning that not every athlete is me helped me big time be more relatable to the athletes. For sure.
That's very well said.
Yeah.
Because really the same for me. Like, cause when I would train, I'm sure same for you. And my wife's the same way. But the intrinsic motivation that we have, like, I had a coach really just to kind of guide me. I didn't need to be motivated. I didn't need to be pulled along. I didn't need to be forced anything. Like it would be, I'd be told to stop because if I'm missing 5 or 6 attempts, the anger and the rage and the holes in the wall that I put at the gym and everything, the motivation was there. But now here I am working with people who don't have like that retardation, that fire. It's completely different. You can't drive someone like that. You can't expect that. So that's like, okay, I gotta tone this down and I gotta put it on the level where everybody's at, and then build them up from that.
You also learn a lot of it coaching youth.
Oh yeah.
Youth kids are not. I feel, I don't know, maybe I was different younger, but I feel like my friends were the same way. Youth kids now don't get motivated the same way as we did when we were younger. I think youth kids now are like probably more perfectionists in a bad way, right?
Yeah.
Like they're scared to fail, so they won't try, or they just are here to have fun and don't take it serious in the sense of like there is competitiveness in this whole thing. Like if you put me as a youth next to another kid, I'm gonna try to beat that kid. Yeah, there's no problem. If I was next to another kid and if it was a female, this might sound sexist, but that female's not outlifting me at 10 years old. Like it's not happening. I will show up every day not to be outlifted.
So, dude, how many years in high school football when you go to the weight room? It was just pure. Everything was ego lifting.
Yeah,
everything was maxing out the bench. That was priority, and then anything else from there. Like, it was just.
The athletes are motivated way different, especially the younger athletes nowadays are motivated way different than I think we were. And
I would think too, like just because, I mean, granted, it's such a cultural change where, and again, this affects like our coaching aspect, I think a lot, but the whole premise where everyone's a winner, everyone gets a medal, like all of a sudden, like competition vanishes. Like no, there's no incentive to work at it. Like,
exactly.
Dude, I want to beat you because. One, I want to say beat you, but two, it's like I want to be able to get the medal, or I want to be able, whatever the recognition's going to be. It's like I want to get that.
There's no participation trophies when you're going for a job.
No,
right? Like
no,
you either get the job or you don't get the job. There's no. Well, this guy got 3rd place, so we'll put him on as something
put him
else.
On anyway,
that doesn't happen.
No,
so it's definitely life lessons when you're weightlifting for sure.
And for us as coaches. These are all things that we have to consider because this is all part of the relationship building. It's all part of the personality development, let's say for ourselves, and also working with other personalities. Because here it leads to the next topic. It's like our mechanisms of communication have to be so broad to be able to get messages to people, to be able to understand where they're at, what we're trying to do, and do it in a way to where it's like, all right, we gotta play at this person's level, but still elevate them to where we want them to be. And that's all these tools really come in handy, but it's something that I mean, change. It's again goes back to like the beginning about when you asked what makes a great coach is like the adaptability.
Yeah.
We
Yeah, you
constantly
gotta
have to adapt.
Chameleon. You gotta
Yeah.
be a chameleon.
100%.
Especially with like what we talked about with the communication, right?
Yeah.
Like I think it's easier for our team because we have a female and a male coach, right?
Yeah.
Like my wife coaches with me, so the way she communicates is going to be different than the way I communicate.
For sure.
And athletes and us together kind of will relate to those kind of athletes, right? Like if we get an athlete that will communicate with Amy better. She handles most of that communication compared to me. I'll handle most of the communication with everyone else that relates to me, and it definitely makes it easier to adapt to those kind of athletes because everyone is going to be different. Some people want to be coddled, which isn't a bad thing. It sounds bad, but it's not, right? Some athletes need to be coddled. Some athletes need to be pushed hard. And those athletes will find their way to myself or Amy, depending on, what they want to see or hear or feel.
Actually, very similar to my gyms. I have obviously Danny Greco, he coaches on other days. He'll take certain athletes who, let's say, aren't as it doesn't mesh as well. It meshes better with him.
Yeah.
And then also, like my wife Christina, I've basically anointed her as the female team coach. Well, she doesn't really realize it, but she has a lot of input on a lot of the female lifters, and a lot of times she'll say she's hesitant and holds back because she doesn't want to impede what I'm saying or come across with a different message. And ultimately, I think we've already established where it's like, we really, when it comes down to like the end product, we're the same. But she says things differently, sees it differently, hears it a little bit differently, and it's like, please have at it. Like, please.
Because it's a good thing.
It's a
that
very
athlete
good
might need to hear that thing differently, right? Like, when we talk about communication, it's also how we coach technically, right? How we coach the snatch, how we coach the clean and jerk.
Yeah.
The way I might communicate a certain position or a certain cue is going to be different than my wife is going to. I think she's more technical than me. She moves very well. So she might communicate it a lot different than I do. And that might work, right? Like, so I might be saying something, running my head into a wall, and then she says it, and then boom, it clicks.
Yeah.
And, I feel like whatever works, right? Like, people say, like, you can't say the heels cue, or you can't say this cue, and it's like, if it works, who cares?
That's what I say.
Right?
Like, anything works if it works. If I say potato, and it somehow gets an outcome, good. I got an outcome.
Speaking of potato, we had a youth kid. He has a tough time keeping his back straight. So I'm like, keep your back straight. And I always say, keep your back straight like a duck, right? That kind of arch. And then he goes, like a soldier. And I'm like a soldier. Let's do it. And it worked. So
that's the thing. It does. Anything works if it works. I mean, and especially too, like going back to, let's say, with Amy or Christina, it's like, I don't care what you say because you're helping the team out, you're helping the outcome. And actually, going back to now, let's say the first question of like what makes a great coach, I think a coach that's able to anyone who coaches has one, I would assume, but like where you can either minimize or shelf the ego to where you'll like be accepting of other input, accepting of other coaches or anywhere,
and you're willing to try. And
correct. Right. Yeah, I that is one and probably the foremost because again, going back like. Having experienced, let's say, a coach with ego, to where
I'm right.
You
don't know anything. This is exactly how.
This is how you do it. You don't want to do that. All these other people are idiots. You don't want to listen to them.
Yeah.
It's like, well, no. It's like, wait a second. No, that doesn't make sense.
Because if that's true, right? Like if you were perfectly right as a coach, right? Every program or every way you coach would lead to success, right? And that doesn't happen.
That would be only one way to succeed.
There'd only be one way to succeed, and that doesn't happen.
No,
it's the same thing with like coaches that, when an athlete's like, hey, I feel good, can I go a little heavier? And the coach is like, no, we have a plan. Well, by doing that, it's basically saying that your plan is guaranteed to lead to success. And there isn't a plan.
No.
There's not a program guaranteed to lead to success, right?
No. That's why there's so many different schools of weightlifting.
Yes.
And there's none are right, none are wrong. They all produce in different ways.
Yeah, so you have to learn to meet the athlete. Like, I feel good. Let's go. I don't feel good. Back it down, right? Yeah. So, like, you have to learn. That's all with communication. You have to learn how to communicate and understand that, like, you don't know everything.
No.
You know what I mean?
No, and especially as it's like the more you know, the less you know type of thing. I think it was 2018, I think. So I ended up meeting this one guy through mutual friends and everything. He was kind of like in the just gym business. He did it was like a manager for like multiple Crunch Fitnesses or something like that, some commercial. So we were just talking about, we just got connected. We were talking about possibly acquiring this one facility that was for sale type of thing. So it just, not to get too lost in the details, but so we ended up flying out to California for this like trainers convention, like URSA. It's an acronym like a IHRSA. I don't know I forget what it stands for. So we go out there, and I felt like a fish out of water. It's like, here I am, a weightlifting coach. There's like, pulley systems over here, like weird ass looking.
You're like, where's the barbell?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Where's the bumper plates?
So there's like a shining light, and it just turned out that Aleko was there, and one good friend who works there, Dave Weber, he was actually at the show. It's like, oh my God, Dave! Oh, like, I don't think I've ever hugged him so tight. I was so happy to see him. So I ended up, for the most part of the day, like, because we split up and everything, I ditched everything else and just hung out with the Aleko guys, and he gave me a shirt, and I was just hanging out in the booth and everything like that. But Anthony Pomponio was there.
Oh,
you remember him? So,
yeah.
and he's like in the middle of like this trade show. Like people walking like literally this close in front. He's cleaning 180 and just like, it's like, man, look at this guy putting on a show. So I ended up meeting. There was a guy there. We got talking. I don't remember his name at all, but I believe, at least as he introduced himself, he was Pomp's original coach.
Okay.
And he was just saying, yeah, I found the kid. He was a bodybuilder, a powerlifter. I mean, he was super strong. And then the details of the conversation I'm kind of lost on. But basically, he said to me at one point, he's like, you can either be the authoritarian or you could be the facilitator. And he's like, and I chose, because at this point, I think he left this coach. That might have been when he was with Juggernaut or something like that. But he's like, I chose to be the facilitator, because here it is, like, I could have been the authoritarian and just said, okay, no, your technique needs to be fixed, you need to do this, and you like really laid in on him.
Yeah.
But he might not have had the success that he's had and risen to the level that he's at.
Yeah.
And we had a great conversation. Pomp was a really cool dude. We kept in touch for a little while. I mean, it was such a good experience. But like, let's say again, contrasting, it's like, man, here's just completely different perspective from what I had, and that really helped shape me, because it was just like the words, like, yeah, you know what? You don't have to be demanding of your athlete in a certain in the direction you want.
Yeah.
You could demand them in the direction they want, and then that comes really down to the underarching theme of it all, is just communicating and being able to communicate with your athlete, knowing where they are, knowing what they want, knowing what they're thinking, and you getting across the same thing.
And it comes to our next things is prioritizing each athlete, becoming adaptable. Right?
Yeah.
Like if you only have your one way of doing things, then you're not going to adapt or be able to prioritize every single athlete on your team.
Yeah.
So eventually you're going to have no athletes on your team, but just the ones that learn the same way you learn, right?
That's exactly it. The numbers speak to that.
Your numbers are going to drop, or like if you're running it as a business, it does matter, and you need to be able to adapt to every athlete, their style of learning, their style of listening, and their style of how they move, right? Because we all have the way that we all know how a lift should look, but it needs to look as similar to that way with each athlete, right? Like that athlete might not be able to look exactly that way, right?
Yeah.
You coach a lot of masters, right? And some of
Cool.
them just can't get into a squat or don't have the overhead mobility, so you just get it as close to how it's supposed to look. And with being a great coach is being adaptable in all ways, whether it's how you program or how you coach technique, and then how you communicate all those things to the athlete.
Yeah, so that's a big aspect, because again, let's say even to the point of, let's say, prioritizing every athlete, it's you prioritizing to what their strengths and needs are. And again, communicating to them what I'm looking at, what and why, and really also too, like, is mitigating frustrations. Let's say with masters athletes, a lot of times, if they're having difficulty, it's like, listen, doing more lifts right now is not going to help you. You have to focus maybe more on this other aspect to get your mobility up, or you need to just do less because your body can't handle it, type of thing. And then really teaching and learning learning the athlete and then teaching them what they need from an outside perspective, so then that way you can achieve the said results.
Yeah.
How's that with youths? How do you approach that? Because you have a lot of youth athletes, so like how do you
Yeah, so youth is kind of like similar to masters, but they have the mobility and things like that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But they're similar to masters in the sense of like not every lift is gonna look exactly how you want it to look. It's just trying to get it as close to that as possible. So like with our youth, it's kind of just, it's easier with me and Amy, right? My wife, who's the other coach, because we can kind of split up the class to the kids who I can coach a little easier,
Okay.
and then to the kids that she can coach a little easier.
Okay.
And the ones that adapt to her and the ones that adapt to me.
Mm.
So like I'll stand on one side of the gym, she stands on the other side of the gym, and we focus on those athletes near us. So that's how we kind of prioritize each one of them and then adapt to each one of them. And then early on, it's just trying to get, you know, their backs tight, their arms to stay long, them to stay balanced, right? It's not so much like, I don't think we've had a kid mobility wise, like you might get with like a master's beginner or something like that. But you definitely have awkward kids that don't know how to move their body in space. So it's like learning how to move their body in space, and whether it's starting with a PVC pipe and then working their way to a lighter bar. It just takes time. It takes time.
I'm glad. I'm actually really glad you ended, like, literally just said it takes time, because that's another thing that I run into a lot is when people. I mean, you and I have been around for a while, so we've seen the long duration of the game, how things shape out, how it's shaped out for us. But most of the people that we coach, their timeline is actually very short. Whether it be 6 months, 1 year, 3 years, even 5 years. I mean, you could still consider a short period of time. But how we approach, like, when you look at an athlete and you see that the only thing that they need is just time. But trying to get that across to them, because it's like, but I want to get better now. I want to be able to do this. It's like, honestly, it's like, just chill out. You will get there, but like, just understand, like, you just keep showing up, keep doing the same thing.
That's basically what we say too. Like, it's a marathon.
Yeah.
Like, even when they first come in, like, understand that how you look now isn't gonna look the same way next week, and then the week after that. But it's going to be small increments, and it's going to take time. Even when we get an athlete that's experienced coming to our team, and they're looking to get better, I always tell them, like, it's going to take 9 months to a year for me to for us to figure you out as an athlete. You need to give me 9 months to a year. But if you're not willing to do that, then maybe I'm not the coach for you. But like, you need to give me 9 months to a year to figure you out, and then we'll start hitting the ground running. And we'll figure this out, and you'll hit PRs. But if you're expecting anything sooner than that, which could happen, granted it can happen. But if you're expecting anything sooner than that, and you're rating me on that, then that's not fair. You know what I mean?
No, exactly, because it should. If you base it solely upon that, I mean, that's so tough. It's like, how do you figure something out? So, because every person, like, again, it's all relationship building, but like, how long do certain relationships take to develop? Like, let's just say for you and I, like, when we first met each other, it was like, oh, what's up, dude? Yeah, good to see you. Like, and it was just in passing type of thing at meets. Then all of a sudden, like, maybe commenting or something like that. Then text, shoot each other some messages every now and then. We train together. And to the point where I'm now, but it's like relationship building. It takes time to do
mean,
that.
Look how long it takes you to marry somebody.
Right?
Like, it took.
Well,
it took me.
I'm an outlier, but
it took me and my wife like 10 years till I proposed. So like, not that was like how long it took to us to build our relationship, but it takes time for you guys to realize, like, this athlete is someone that I want to coach, and then that athlete is I'm someone that athlete wants to be coached by. And then learning how to program them. It's a marathon sport. So like we said in the last episode, it's like being open and honest right away with what the expectations are. Because I'm sure you've had it before where you get an athlete that's gung-ho and feels great and wants to be great, and it's like, why haven't I PR'd in a month?
It's like 1, 2 months open.
It's like, what? Like, that doesn't happen. So, like, right away, I always tell athletes, like, especially non-beginners coming to us, it's going to take 9 months to a year for me to figure you out. So, give me those 9 months to a year, and then we'll be somewhere. But if not, like, if you're expecting it sooner, then I'm not like those expectations aren't good for me.
Well, it's like I've never been in the Navy or sailed or anything like that, but when they say it's like a big like cruise ship or something, they say try to turn that thing, like turning them around, I guess is like it takes a long time. There's a big, slow, lumbering vessel. I mean, that's the same thing with lifting, and again, because it's all skill based. Like I've been lucky with a couple. Like let's say the one athlete that I have, Victoria.
Yeah.
She's been with us for about a year and a half or so now, or maybe it was a little over a year, but it took probably up until now, let's say. I mean, granted, the beginning, she was new, so that was helpful.
Yeah.
That also helped kind of direct things a little bit. But like I'd say right now, like especially when we were texting yesterday, like discussing her training plan and everything, probably found a rhythm of everything that seems to really work for her.
Yeah.
And whereas like added some things, took some things out, found out that okay, we got to put these.
And that's what's funny too, is what people don't realize is like when you start to figure it out and you're hitting all those PRs.
Yeah.
We have to now figure it out again.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like because now your tonnage, your volume, all that stuff went up, and we figured out those PRs.
Yeah.
Now we got to figure out what's going to work again.
And that's what I say. Yeah.
That's what athletes don't understand. Sometimes it's like I just hit a bunch of PRs. Why am I not continuing this tear for another year? It's like, well, you're not, because you just PR'd every single thing.
Yeah.
And now we have to restructure the program to figure out with those new numbers what's going to work again.
And so with that too,
and that's where like communication comes in play. Like coach has to be able to feel comfortable enough to tell the athlete that, and then the athlete has to understand that at the same time.
Yeah, and that's what I try to. I've said to one of my lifters before is that especially like when discussing like progress and going up, it's like weightlifting is most things in life. Everything is linear. You get a job each year, your salary should go up, or you go up, you progress. Everything is for the most part very linear, where weightlifting is not.
No,
you cannot expect. It's linear in the long run, yes, if you're consistent and you continually apply yourself, but for the most part, there's constant change. Yeah. So we'll change exercise selection, change reps, change because you're changing to it. And let's say as you progress, yes, you get better in one area, but then maybe once you get better through here, now all of a sudden you reach a different hurdle. Now you've exposed a different weakness, so now with that, we have to just, as you said, readapt, change things, and it's really going back to the communication aspect, explaining like what and why behind all the motivations that we have in doing so.
Yeah.
So it's a constant evolution, and really, I don't know, it's tough to figure out. That's where that's where the patience comes in. That's where someone who's intrinsically motivated, that's willing to just keep going and going, it definitely pays off.
Yeah. What are you looking for in an athlete when you developed your team and started your team and athletes started to come to your team? What did you look for? Like what was like a key thing that you wanted in each athlete that you looked for?
That's a great question. I would say, and this is something that I've really spanned for, again, just even thinking about what someone said to me the other day, I just looked for someone who was willing to listen. If it doesn't matter what level they're at. I don't care if they're like high level, if they're at a low level or a beginner, whatever it is, they just have to be willing to listen, because there have been so many times where, like, let's say, I don't mind saying the same thing over and over and over and over again. If the person
basically what coaching is.
Yeah, it really is. It's repetitiveness. You think the reps are repetitive? You should try coaching cues. That's more repetitive. How much tonnage do you think we have to take? Keep your chest up or something.
Keep your chest up, but stay back.
So with someone that's listened, because especially, and not to sound poor on this, but especially in the earlier years where I've had a lot of CrossFitters coming in.
Yeah.
There would be so many times where I'd have these, like, it's back in like early like 2010s or whenever that was, when CrossFit was like great in popularity.
Yeah.
But
because I got into it kind of at the end. Okay. Not at the end, like CrossFit's still CrossFit, but at the end of the boom of popularity.
Yeah.
You were starting off.
Yeah, that's really was the wave that helped me a lot. So I mean, I don't speak poorly of CrossFit in the sense of like what's afforded for me in weightlifting, but in terms of, let's say, people as athletes, like I get people come in and be like, dude, you got you got to chill out, man. Like, I'm saying things, but you're not. It's just,
yeah,
yeah. Oh, okay. And it's just
yeah.
like right back at it. It's like, oh my God, like, you're gonna kill somebody. Like, get out of here. So it would always be someone who's willing to listen.
Okay.
That was the biggest thing. How about you?
Um, listening is definitely important. I feel like I look for the person that's willing to work hard.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like if you come in and you give me the consistency of whether your program's 3 days a week, 4 days a week,
Yeah.
or 5 days a week,
Okay.
you're giving me that consistency, I will give you everything I have.
Mm-hmm.
Everything I have to
Same.
get you better.
And you know,
Right?
like,
So like the athlete that's willing to work hard, because
yeah.
what's hard to coach is the athlete that is kind of like not willing to work hard or kind of just, oh yeah, I'll come in this day and then not come in this day.
Yeah.
That's hard to coach for me.
And you know what?
So like that's what I look for. It's the athlete willing to put in the work.
Because I've had also, tell me if you've had any of these, where you get, let's say, athletes who may have maybe they're trainers or something like that, and then you give them corrections, you tell them what to do, and they go, oh, I know, I just got to be able to do it. They the ones that know.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, I had someone who I've removed from the gym who knew everything.
All right, so we'll go. What is the athlete that you don't want?
Oh, good question. The athlete that I don't want. That's actually that's a harder question than
Yeah, that's harder. Yeah, that's harder.
Because there's so many traits with
Plus, like, we're also running a business.
Yeah.
So it's hard.
Because it's not just like, if we're independently wealthy, I'd
Yeah.
be like, there'd be 4 people in here. And be like, nah, he's good.
Yeah.
So
yeah, what's the trait you look to not like? What's the trait that you don't want to coach?
well, I guess it'd be the
opposite.
the antagonist. Yeah, it'd be
Yeah.
the one who doesn't listen.
Okay.
Because those ones, the athlete who listens, just as you said, like you can give as much as you possibly can give. You can give full every bit of yourself.
Yeah.
And in doing so, it's effortless. Like it's no trouble for me. Like I'm willing to just hound you. I'm willing to say the same thing. I'm willing to do everything I can. The one that doesn't listen, that you have to try to like drive, try to make you like feel comfortable, or whatever it may be. The one that takes all that energy out of you, so when afterwards you're just like, oh, you're just like, I'm done, man. I'm ready to go home. That's the one that you don't.
So for me, it wouldn't be the opposite. It would actually be the same as yours.
Really?
The athlete that doesn't want to listen.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Like, or disregards what you're saying in the sense of like, not openly, right? Like they're not going to be like, yeah, sure, or whatever like that. They're just going to turn around and not listen to you.
Mm-hmm.
And you could tell when they're not listening to you. I would say that yours is what I would say.
Yeah.
For sure. It wouldn't even be I'd rather have the athlete that doesn't work hard.
Yeah.
Because then I'm just going to match that. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I know it sounds bad, but I'm just going to match that.
No,
you know what I mean? But
I
the
know exactly
athlete
what you mean.
that doesn't listen is hard.
You know, because with that's actually
Because they could be consistent, they could work hard, but then they could not listen.
Yeah.
So you're working hard with them, but at the same time, they're just not taking the input that you're giving out.
Because it's a give and take.
Yeah.
It's again it's the relationship. It's just like there's a give and a take, and if you're just constantly giving, it's oh god.
Yeah.
And that's why like even the ones like meeting someone to where they're at.
Yeah.
Which let's say from a business sense, I mean that's I think a good thing that I've learned.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? Yeah. And actually, what I found too is that and this goes along with I guess recalibrating where someone's at, what their goals are, what they're looking to do. And sometimes not even asking them, just kind of like paralleling them based upon how they conduct themselves in terms of meeting them. But like I think maintained athletes over a longer, like let's say this demographic, maintained them over a longer period and actually kept them involved in weightlifting by doing that and not getting so hard on them.
Yeah.
Because if I tried to push hard, come on, you got to do more, you got to do this, you got to correct that, it just would immediately drive them away. Where I'd be like, all right, look good, do another.
Now, with what you're looking for, do you think, like, say the opposite? Like they came in, they have that trait that they don't want to listen, right? Do you think over a long term you can change that?
In my personal experience, anyone who's had that has never lasted.
Okay.
They've actually seen that, like they just see themselves out. And reason too, I think, we get interesting, social dynamic. Most of the people like that they end up not fitting into the group environment.
Yeah.
And it just becomes they're their own island in the ocean of everybody else. Yeah. And it's just like over the years I've seen that to where it's just like they end up just drifting away or
I think that's for sure a thing because like you're gonna attract the people that will that your personality attracts, right? So
Yeah.
then the gym is gonna be filled, right? Because those people are gonna leave.
Yeah.
So the gym's gonna be filled with the people that you work well with, right? And have the traits that you work well with.
Yeah.
So when somebody comes in that doesn't have that, it's
Yeah.
easy for them to be outcasted or not get along or eventually just leave.
Well, and also and then the rest of the group actually resents that person a bit because that person also becomes so consummations to our time that we takes us away from them.
Yeah.
And that's, I guess, another aspect too of.
And that's where it's tough too, because like you said, you want to meet an athlete halfway.
Yeah.
But if they have that trait where they're fighting to meet you halfway, it becomes hard.
That's where I put the brakes on.
It becomes hard.
And usually in that instance, that's actually where I think it comes down to, let's say, in terms of a good coach, is the coach recognizing that and recognizing the hazard to the environment and saying, you know what, all right, I think it's best that we part ways, or best that you train somewhere else, because now we're protecting our environment, we're protecting the integrity of what we've created, and everybody else who we have good relationships with believe in us, they train hard, they listen.
Yeah.
It's like we owe it to them.
Yeah, it's part of the coach-athlete relationship because you have all these relationships with the other people that are in your gym. So you're protecting those relationships when somebody new comes in that maybe isn't falling in line or isn't getting along with you or the other people. So you're protecting those relationships. So like, because they could get, like we talked about in the last podcast, is they could destroy it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. And as you said too, like in the last podcast about the environment being everything.
Yeah.
That will just that will just stink out the atmosphere like something.
And that's the same with remote athletes. So we have a big remote team, right? So we coach a lot of remote athletes. So they have to fit into our environment if they're coming to a meet with all our other athletes. So their environment right now is through text messages to the phone, but we got to make sure that personality fits with the rest of our team through that phone.
Yeah.
So.
And that's really good team building in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen us at States, and some of those athletes are remote. But then when they come, it's like they knew everybody for years.
Which is, that's a really nice feature to have. That's why it's enjoyable, because for some of the remote athletes that I have too, the times when they come in, it's like, can they fall right into line? Well, not fall into line. That sounds bad.
Yeah.
Like, can they fall right into the amalgam of things and just be like one of the group? Yeah.
And they join the atmosphere and be a contributor to the atmosphere.
Very much. And I've been lucky to where like anyone who has been like that has just come in and been like, oh man, I wish they lived close. It would be awesome if they were here all the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I think that's up to us to be able to develop that in many ways. That's another hard part, especially like with online athletes, how to foster and develop. I mean, I guess nowadays it's getting easier with like social media and everything. But still, how to be a personality and foster that, like you're an online personality versus in person, and to tie those things together.
We Christian's big on it, doing the group chats and adding people into group chats and getting everyone involved. So like, it definitely helps when you have, an athlete on your team. Christian, like a captain, that gets everybody involved into the atmosphere. And then it's also good too because you'll have athletes that join where other athletes will come up to you and it's like, I don't know if this athlete fits.
Yeah.
I don't know if this athlete fits, and we've had that before too. So it's good because you need to hear it. As a coach and as a business owner, you're thinking about coaching another athlete, making more money.
Yeah.
But when an athlete who is expressing to you like, I don't think this athlete fits, it's good to listen to because they don't have any background motivation to having that athlete on the team. They just want to make sure that the athlete fits. They're not making money from it. They're not doing anything from it. So it's good to have that athlete that kind of helps you.
The motives are pure in that regard. It's not skewed.
Yeah.
Because there have been a bunch of times where, let's say, there's certain people or a few people that actually ask to leave the gym and it's just because you'll be better off elsewhere type of thing. Yeah. It would. I'd kind of. I'd waver on, not waver, but I would waver on it. I'd be like, I don't know. It's something about like, am I making the right decision? Am I doing so? And then when you hear that from a respected member of your club, and it's just like, All right. And then the moment you do, it's like, oh man, that was the best decision, dude. I should have
Yeah.
listened to you right away.
It's
That's
tough when you have that background motivation of you're running a business.
yeah.
You know,
Well, because we still have to pay rent.
still got to
I
pay
mean,
rent.
good intentions and good personalities don't necessarily
Pay rent.
yeah. So it's good to have those attributes,
Yeah.
but we got to cover things still. So here's one for you. A question I'll give to you. How do you what do you do to clearly establishing desired outcomes? How do you go over that with your athletes, and how do you set that up for them? Because obviously the athlete has like a perception, especially younger ones, of like, oh man, and you know how like some of the like someone who's doing, let's just say, like they're snatching 60 kilos and they think, all right, 3 months I'm gonna be doing 80. Like, how do you set that up and tee them up to where it's like you manage their expectation and keep them going?
Yeah, so you try to find out early on what their goal is, and this is for beginners or experienced lifters. You find out early on what their goal is.
Yeah.
And usually experienced lifters will have more of a logical expectations, right? So you don't really have to go over expectations with them in the sense of like, an experienced lifter knows they're not going to go from a 70 kilo snatch to a 100 kilo snatch in a month, right? They know that's not going to happen. But with beginners, they don't understand.
Yeah.
So early on, how I do it is just basically, one, I understand their goals, what they want to do, and then we talk about their goals and we talk about how we're going to get to those goals.
Okay.
And the things that I push when we talk about getting to those goals is, one, consistency. Follow the program, how it's written, and be consistent with the days that you're supposed to do it. Be consistent with whether it's a remote athlete or an in-house athlete, updating the program, telling me what weights you're hitting, uploading videos if you're a remote athlete, and just be willing to learn. And then that's how we're going to get to that goal. It might not be like if that person, let's say, wrote down 60 kilos to 80 kilos in a month. I'll tell them right away, we might not get there right away. We might not get there in that month. Okay. But you might pass it in a year. You know what I mean? We might be way past it by a year. But if you do these things, you're going to continue to see, the kilos add onto the bar. Yeah. Right. It might not be as quick as you want it, but as long as you're doing those things, it might be past what you even thought you'd be able to do. So I think early on, it's just being honest. Okay. With those expectations.
How do you manage the frustrations in between? Oh, well, we all experience. Yeah. You manage the frustrations in between.
So I think. That's a good question, actually. So managing the frustrations in between, it really depends on the lifter. If we get a more experienced lifter, they understand that there's going to be frustrations. Right? Because they've dealt with probably a bunch of them.
You don't have to temper them or anything.
You don't have to temper them too much. You just kind of have to, like, let them talk through it. Okay. Right? Like, let them say what their frustrations are and just, talk them through it. Kind of agree with them. Like, it's a tough time. This and that, maybe you were sick, or maybe you weren't as consistent, your job got crazy, or things like that. Like, we're going to work through it, it's going to be okay. Yeah. With beginners, they don't understand that those things affect everything. So you kind of have to just let them vent, one. Don't try to cut them off, or try to throw your opinions in there. Just let them vent and just be like, this is part of the sport. The sport's not linear. It very much is undulating. And there's going to be ebbs and flows to everything that we do. And you might be having a down period right now, but then in 2 months, we might be smashing everything. So just understand, just keep showing up, keep doing the work, and we'll be there. So it's kind of like, it's kind of the same for both, but it's different in the sense of like the experienced lifter, I don't have to explain why they're feeling that way. It's just more listening and being like, okay, like we're going to make it through. The beginner lifter, you might have to explain why they might be feeling that way. Like you just changed your job, now you're driving 2 hours, or you just got sick for a week and now you're coming back. Like you got to understand that we're not going to be where you want to be when we have to deal with those things. So it's just a little bit of different, but making sure you listen. I think listening is the most important thing.
Yeah, I guess everything keeps coming full circle with that, because it comes down to listening and communication. Because just as you were saying that, I'm just going through my head trying to like think of other examples, but it's like, you know what, really, it just comes down if the athlete listens,
Yeah.
they'll take it in, they'll understand.
And both athlete and
yeah,
coach.
coach too, yeah.
Right? Because if they're just, if you're on a phone call or you're in person, you're just cutting them off.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, hey, I'm not doing good. It's like, all right, well, you know, you're driving 2 hours. So, like, let them fully explain what they're feeling. And even ask questions like, what do you think is causing this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, is it the movements that we're giving you? Is it the volume that we're giving you? Or do you think maybe because now you got a new job? Or, like, kind of ask the questions in the way that you want them to kind of figure out the solution.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that's a good approach, and put it on them. There was this one guy that I had for, he was doing online programming. Seemed like came to the gym once, was seemed like a nice guy, everything like that. But then, like, his technique needed a lot of work. Like, it was just, you know, a guy lifting on his own with just muscling everything.
Yeah.
So I was giving him tons of drill work, tons and tons of drill work. Like, so his strength relative to his technique, his strength was much higher.
Yeah.
So the disparity was clear. His strength really wasn't an issue. But then even in the strength work, his strength work needed a lot of technique. So like to the point where, let's say, giving him back squats, I think it was like whatever, reps don't matter, but like an 80% back squat.
Yeah.
And this thing was all hamstrings. Like,
Yeah.
there was no quad, there was no anything.
Yeah.
It was just literally just hamstrings.
Yeah.
And it was at a snail's pace. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my god, dude, this is your 80%. Like, whoa, like this is not good. Like,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is, so there was a lot to address. And then he's like texting me, and like I'm trying also too, because this is another thing hard that I think is hard with remote athletes is context of text. Like, see, the way they type it may not be the way that I hear it. And it's like, all right, just assume, don't read it like that, you know, because a couple messages I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
like,
That is the tough part with text.
Ready to send the big artillery across, but I was like, all right, calm down. But then, so what I did was, okay, well, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? What do you think? And he's like, oh, well, I'm not really questioning your program. I just don't know, like, what long-term progress is going to look like. I'm like, dude, you just got to keep working. So it eventually just ended up drifting away. Never heard from him again. But it was basically, I don't know, maybe if anywhere from like a 4 to 6 month span. And the guy, like, in the one or two times where the guy went off program and just did like snatch or clean and jerk, and a PR. But it was like everything in between, like, was really just low percentages because it was like there's a lot to work on. Yeah, it's like going heavy is not going to do anything for you.
Yeah.
And but yet still would manage to like sneak a PR in there. But it was like someone like that. It was just like the expectations relative to reality was so out of touch.
Yeah.
And it was like, man, it's like, dude, I don't know what to tell you, man.
Yeah,
like, you know, I don't think there anything is I can tell you. You.
I think that's the biggest thing with this sport is the people coming in, whether they played another sport or worked out previously, is like managing those expectations, because they're gonna come in and let's say they played football and they went through all high school, college, made it. I feel like the reward in football comes a lot quicker.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you're playing every week, you know, you're practicing every day, this and that. When in this sport, you might max out 2 or 3 times in a program.
Yeah.
You might not do a meet for 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
Like, the expectation, the rewards come a lot slower in this.
And
So-
you don't have other people picking up slack if you're off. Like,
Exactly.
when you're on the football field, if you're running slow that day, if your memory's a little foggy,
Exactly.
you still have other defenders or other
Helping.
defensemen that are working with you. So
So-
it hides a lot.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, like, everyone's expectations come from this world of, like, immediate satisfaction.
Yeah.
But then in a sport where there's going to be very slow reward to what you're putting in. You know what I mean? So
It's a painful sport.
yeah, it is.
For
It's
sure.
a pain. Like, you're going to literally run, you're literally going to train 12 weeks to do 6 lifts.
Yeah.
Right? Like, depending how many days a week that is, whatever you train. But you're literally training 12 weeks to do 6 lifts on a platform. So, like, realize that as long as you're going to train to do 6 lifts, those expectations need to be managed to that, right? You might only do 4 meets a year.
Yeah. Well, you know, and with that too, like, you're training 12 weeks to do 6 lifts. 6.
Yeah.
If you have 12 weeks, I mean, depending on how many times you days a week you train, let's say 3, 4, 5, whatever that may be, think of all those training sessions you have to just show it off in 6 lifts.
Yeah.
If you can't take that amount of time in those 12 weeks to just control your ego, to control your mindset, to put the phone down, to not worry about recording every lift that you do, and focus on just creating a good process, those 6 lifts, I mean, that's nothing. I mean, it's like, I don't know, I can't even think of an analogy because it's so little, but it's like there's so much work that you have to do to distill it to such a small amount. Like if you're not going to take that seriously, and you're not going to, let's say, like listening to the coach, listening to the objectives, listening to what the day in and day out is going to bring you in order to provide that, it's like it's the wrong sport for you.
Yeah, I think I had put up a post a few years back. I reposted it not too long ago, but it's like it basically calculated your hours of training, your hours of recovery, your hours of sleep, and then the hours it takes you to do a competition. Yeah. Right. And I think I had 4 competitions for that year. Yeah. Right. And it was like 99. It was like almost 99% of your time in weightlifting is going to be spent. Yeah. To trying to achieve greatness in 1% of your time. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like 99% of your time doing weightlifting is spent recovering, training, eating, sleeping, you know, all that just to be good at 1% of the time. Yeah. It's insane to think about, but like that's also how you need to think about your expectations in the sense of like you have to do all that training to be good at 1%. Right? So like if you can't expect us to get you know, from a 50 kilo snatch to a 100 kilo snatch in a month if you know,
you're not doing all those.
You're not doing all those factors.
Yeah, so. I remember so you obviously everyone, or at least older people know for sure. Remember in 2008 when Steiner won the Olympics? Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I mean that's the greatest.
Yeah, one of the greatest moments. Steiner. Yeah, he won the Olympic, like made like a 13 kilo jump and won it. But
there's like, people not in weightlifting that know that video.
Yeah, So to what you just said, with all that, so after he did that and won it, the camera was in the back. His main competitor was a Russian, Evgeny Shigashev. Yeah. The camera went back to Shigashev and panned on him, and he just went like, because he went 6 for 6. He went 6 for 6. I think it was like a PR for like both attempts. Yeah. And Steiner just hucked it, and
Steiner had missed the lift.
Yeah,
before,
he missed the lift beforehand. Yeah, so he just hucked it and went for it. And it's just like, you know, these are guys who spend years training for this, let alone 12 weeks for like a local competition. But his just response of just kind of shrugging, like, hey, like, what can I do? It's like that's someone who put all his effort in and realizes, like, this is the nature of the game. Like, you can't freak out. You got to just, I did everything I could, did the best I can. And like, hey, man, good to him. Yeah. So to all you people out there and all lifters, it's like, you got to put in your best every single training session. I mean, that's really what we try to demand out of everybody, or ask of everybody more than demand.
Yeah. So to finish up, how do we build an athlete-coach relationship and trust? Like, how do you build your relationship with an athlete and then build trust with that relationship?
I mean, it's beer. We peddle beer.
I know.
Now, let's see.
Should have brought more.
How to build trust in a relationship? I try to do it through getting them to understand what I'm saying. Yeah. And not even in the sense of like that what I say is like complicated or cryptic or anything like that. I'm just be as transparent as possible. Yeah. My reasoning, my motivation, why I'm doing this, why are you doing this drill, what benefit does it have for you, everything that I look for, and then just say like, listen, this is what I put that all through the lens of my experience. Of okay, when I trained, you know, the warm-up weights, I mean, there were times, especially if it was like block work, oh my god, there was one time snatching where I think I did 1 set with the bar, then I went 70, 100, 110, and then like, I don't know, 15, 20, something like that. And that was all I did. And it was just like looking back on it, like it was, I mean, kind of cool, but at the same time, I would never give credence to, let's say, primers, to warm-ups, and to the value of what that actually meant. Especially like how it was like with block work then. It was like, you know, just wail. Yeah. But we compete from the floor. Yeah. So block work, yeah, it's beneficial, but we compete from the floor. Yeah. So what I've learned really is the value of slowing down, taking your time in the beginning, and just creating a process for yourself. That's what I say all the time to my lifters. And it's like really just trying to get them to understand the what and why. It's like, yeah, you got to go heavy, but like set it up first. And the more I can get that message across, get someone to feel it, to understand it, let's say contrast it, and to be able more so to have like a reference point to get the feeling. It's like, okay, then from there the trust starts to come in. Okay, you know what, that did work. Okay, I'll give it to this. So that's really that's how I try to do it. And then a lot of times too is just like a lead by example type of thing,
Yeah.
where if there's like for the most part like some more experienced lifters or kind of like the right point in the training session where it's like, all right, you know what, I got like 45 minutes. I can jump in. Let me do some snatches or something like that.
Yeah.
And then I'll lift and just literally just go about my approach, how I go about my approach, and just kind of let that lead by example to where people like, because you know everyone watches.
He's doing what he's preaching.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's like live by what live by the message that I'm giving across. I don't look like I'm rushing. I'm composed and try to let my process improve itself. Try to show like let my experience
I
that
think
it has
that's
show improve.
some of the importance of having coaches who have trained.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
there is coaches in the sport that might not have trained exactly weightlifting.
Yeah.
Right? They could have came from strength and conditioning, trained different ways,
yeah,
methodologies and stuff like that. But having a coach that's like, I'm giving you tens.
yeah,
I've done tens by myself, so like I know how it feels. It's also an example of like the athlete trusting, like he's giving me tens. Well, he's done tens, so like it's gonna work.
and even at like a deeper level, I think also too have like the experience with it is one knowing, let's say like the good time, like the elation and the excitement, everything. But two, I think which I think is probably the most important is having been and understanding the anger.
Yeah.
And well, like knowing, like, because it's like when you see someone get really angry, want to throw something. Yeah, it's like that's when I actually, you know what? I think that's probably when you relate the most to an athlete.
Yeah.
When you can sympathize with the frustration and the anger, and then be able to relate to that. That's more because you know anyone can lift a weight and celebrate it, but when you're not, when you're down, when you're in the trenches, when you're doing poorly, and you have all that rage in you, and then be able to relate to it, but then pull someone out of it.
Yeah.
That's I think probably one of the.
I
best
never stop it either.
No.
So I let them go through the rage.
Yeah.
And then I'll try to pull them out. But
Yeah.
I never try to necessarily stop their rage in the sense of like they're gonna throw their hat. Like no.
Yeah.
Like, let them throw their hat.
Yeah.
Let them throw their hat. Let them get angry. And then after that, when they calm down a little bit, then I try to talk to them about it. But yeah. So like what we do, like one is like just being transparent both ways.
Yeah.
Like, this is our expectations. This is how we're gonna do things. This is how we're gonna attack your program. This is what we're gonna do in the program. This is how we coach, and then letting the athlete tell us, like, this is what I need, what I need to do.
Yeah.
And then you telling them those things, following those things, right? Like, so we had an athlete that had a bad experience with previous coach. They came to us, and she basically flat out told us what she was looking for.
Yeah.
And we flat out told her what we do, how we do things.
Yeah.
This is what it's going to do, what we're going to do to get you better. And then doing exactly those things in the first 4 weeks, right there, just builds trust.
Yeah.
Right? Like right there, we've done those exact same things I told you we were going to do in the first 4 weeks, and that builds trust. So transparency and then following what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think is the biggest way to build trust in your athletes, and then just open communication all the time, whether it's good or bad communication.
Yeah.
Right? So like they need to be able to vent to you why they feel like they're sucking in this program.
Yeah.
But they also need to be able to trust that you're gonna listen.
Yeah.
Right? Like and trust you're not gonna take it personal. Right? So like they need to be able to tell you like, I think the volume's too much, or I think I'm going too heavy, or this and that, and then you not be able to take it personal.
Yeah.
You'd be able to be like, thank you for telling me this. This is why, whether you think it's right or wrong, this is why maybe I think it's wrong, or not necessarily wrong, but this is why maybe I think it's wrong, or you might be right. You might be right, and we'll try it in the next cycle.
And you know what I mean? Also too, we can be wrong.
Yeah.
So let me tell you with that. So like, what was it, about 2 weeks or so ago? I ended up getting sick. It was some gnarly flu, wiped out everybody in the gym. Like everyone I knew, I ended up getting really
Amy's
sick.
had it.
Oh, she had it too?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know, it took about like 2 weeks for me to get better. So it's one girl in a program that I had, or I pull it. I don't know, I forget why I was going back at or something. But let's say I did the program while I was sick and everything. Okay, she's updated, good to go. A couple days later, a little bit more clear head. I go back and look at it. I'm like, what was I doing here? Oh my God. I immediately started revising everything. Luckily, she was only like 1 day in, but like, this is bad. Like, I don't know what was I mean, obviously, I was like a little messed up. I was like, man, this doesn't make sense. So I just
had you tripping.
Oh man, yeah, it was like, wait, this is so. So I mean, it is possible.
Yeah.
But it just, again, being open and, to you said, discussing.
Yeah.
You know, because if only the athlete knows what they're feeling.
Yeah.
But also too, we have the advantage point of objectively looking at them.
Yeah.
We know what we're seeing. You know what you're feeling. We know what we're seeing. So we got to be able to.
We got another athlete that's very good, and they got sick for a little while, and their program, they weren't doing too good well in their program, and I re-looked at what they were inputting, what I was seeing, and everything, and analyzed it, and I realized like maybe we're pushing the strength a little too much. You're not able to recover, and I admitted it to her.
Yeah,
I told her straight up, like, I think maybe we were pushing this and this too much, and you weren't just able to recover.
Yeah,
and we got to back it down more. And her being a hard-nosed athlete was like, well, I don't want to back down volume. Like, I want to work hard.
That was a challenge.
Yeah, right? Like, I don't want to back down.
No.
No, I don't want to back down volume. And it's like, well, no, not necessarily like that's a bad thing. Like, we need to find where you're supposed to be at.
Yeah.
Everyone's volume's going to be different. We need to find where you're supposed to be at, and maybe I overshot it.
Yeah.
And there's no handbook on, like,
No.
all right, 69-kilo lifter who is, snatching this and this is where their volume should be. There's no handbook on it, right? So it's kind of just going by previous experience, and sometimes you're going to be wrong, right? Sometimes the athlete is in more shape than you thought or less shape than you thought, so sometimes you're going to be wrong, and you got to be able to admit it.
And that's what makes a good coach.
Yeah, for sure.
It really, like, if you have to admit that you're wrong. I remember one of the big experiences that I had that really kind of like, it was probably the biggest one that just kind of like flipped the switch in me and just completely changed me. There was a time where, so I for the majority of my career, I never majority of my career never did push presses really. And then just however it went about, doesn't matter how it went about, but anyway, I ended up learning how to push press from Yasha Khan.
Okay, yeah.
And then let's start doing push presses. Like, at the end of workout, I'm just gonna throw more push presses in. Push presses go in, and my jerks went up. Everything. I'm sorry. Push presses went in, then my jerks concomitantly went up. And then my coach at the time said to me, he's like, I always had a good jerk, but I never knew how to push press. I'm sorry. Yeah, I never push pressed, and I never really knew how to teach it because I always had a good jerk. I didn't need to do it. And it flipped the switch for me because the majority of my career, I was always told that push press isn't a good exercise. It doesn't help your jerk. It's bad. It's got all these bad traits. And then, there was just a moment.
But then really, it was because he didn't do it.
Yeah. And it was like, man, like that just set me off. It's like all the ego, all this just to eschew an exercise that you do. Just because you're unwilling to admit that you don't know how to teach it.
Yeah.
And here it is, like, okay, and I'm like at the end of my career for the most part in many ways. It's like, and now here's something that I could have been doing all along. Yeah, like
to get my jerk better.
Yeah, and it's just like that was something where it's like, you know what, like that changed my mind on everything.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what, just cast out everything that I thought I knew and just take everything as it comes, apply what works, what doesn't work, willing to try anything, willing to listen to anything. You think this is, and just that was that's really what got me. And I think again too, it was also like the listening portion. It was just like, how do I feel? Like, I'm the athlete, and how do you feel? Like, I'd walk in, how do you feel today? I feel good. Or I'm like, oh no, I'm not feeling that good today. Like, you'll be fine. It's like, what do you mean I'll be fine? I just said I don't feel that good. I'm like,
Yeah, and that's what's like important about building that coach-athlete relationship is because they have to be able to express to you, right?
Yeah.
Like, they got to know that you're not going to take it the wrong way, and you got to know that they're going to tell you what's going on.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if you're asking an athlete and you're seeing them not lift good, and they're like, I feel great.
Yeah.
Well, you don't trust in me to be able to accept what you're going to tell me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, to feel compelled to give the answer you want to hear
like
versus.
I can see the numbers. You're not feeling great. You got to be able to tell me that you're not feeling
great. He just
great.
threw 70 through the wall. Good for 100. I mean, come on, man.
So I think we're done.
I like it. No Traps, No Glory, episode 2.
Episode 2.
Well done, my brother.
Be sure to watch.
Please check us out on Spotify, on our YouTube pages, right? We'll put the link up on the No Traps, No Glory Instagram.
Yes.
Follow us on the gram. Come on.
Yeah.
And you guys can be on the lookout for an upcoming episode 3.
Episode 3. We're going to keep
but
this rolling.
only after you listen to number 2, though.
Yeah. You got to make sure.
It's a gateway.
All right.
Peace.
Peace.